the journalists.
Ilya Petrenko there in Vladivostok for us. Well, let's bring in Dr. Sreeram Chaulia. He's Professor and Dean at the Jindal School of International Affairs. Good to have you on. Thanks for your time today. We haven't heard much detail about exactly what was talked about between these two leaders today, but they've both said, look, it's been highly productive. What would you anticipate would come out of this meeting? What sort of concrete things would you be looking for?
Well, Andrew, I think, first of all, there needs to be a broader multilateral process to solve this problem. And I think Russia is in accord with China as well as other countries, interested countries, that, the six-party talks or some format of a broader variety beyond the bilateral format which Trump and Kim Jong-un have tried, is needed right now. So I think this visit and this very interesting summit meeting between President Putin and Kim Jong-un should possibly broaden the diplomatic arena to try and resolve this problem, because if it's one-on-one, which has been Trump's preference, generally diplomatically, he's always wanted bilateral deals. The problem is that they have been trying to browbeat North Korea and to force it to give concessions, and that's not going anywhere, as we have seen with the Hanoi summit that failed. So it makes sense, I think, to bring in more players, to have more interested actors involved in this, because otherwise it's in a way stalemated, and it's not going to change. Nothing much is going to change, because the hardliners in the Trump administration, especially John Bolton, the national security advisor, these guys, they believe that, they should use, overwhelming threat and sanction and force to get their way. But I think North Korea is proving that it is going to stand its ground and demand something in return. And I think to break out of this, my way or highway kind of thing, which the Trump team is bringing, we need more players. And in that sense, if Russia comes along, if China, if some other countries, the Europeans and possibly India, we all need to be involved, because at the end of the day, we want to solve the problem and not just to score a victory, which has been Trump's goal.
How fragile is the situation on the Korean Peninsula right now? Because we understand that North Korea says, look, we'll respond to this new joint military operation that's taking place between South Korea and the US on the peninsula. I mean, from your perspective, are things getting worse there, or does it seem to be a status quo where there's always tension, but it doesn't really seem to be ratcheting up much?
Well, it could go up. The frustration from the failure of the Hanoi summit is slowly gaining ground, because North Korea recently tested a so-called tactical weapon. And then, they could also restart, nuclear program and make it more visible. So there are ways by which they can bargain, and that's what Kim Jong-un is showing, both by being in Russia today, but also by revving up his existing missile and nuclear programs. And there has been, concern that the North Koreans also hide a lot of missile testing facilities, and those could be, fast forwarded. So I think the time is ticking, and in many ways, Trump tried to show some urgency and some new initiative through his personal diplomacy. But I do see that there's a two-track administration there, where the hardliners like Bolton do not want any kind of concessions to be made, and that has led to the stalemate. So to break out of it, and to reduce the spiral from, again, going back to you remember when North Korea was testing ICBMs and Trump was saying fire and fury and we're going to destroy them and all that. We don't want to, again, go back to that kind of destabilizing rhetoric on both sides. So I think it's very important that we control it now through more players being involved before it goes out of hand and it returns to that old, high level of hostility, which could lead to even accidental nuclear war, and that's the worst case scenario that must be prevented at all costs. We need to rebuild confidence on both sides, and no harm in having more players like Russia involved.
OK, look, we're going to leave it there, but really nice to talk to you. That was Dr. Sreeram Chaulia. He's a professor and dean at the Jindal School of International Affairs. Thank you.